The Purpose of Life. Chapter 1. The Purpose of Life. The Standard Work Ethic vs. Your Free Soul. I'm going to take a holiday for as long as I need. Just to play? No, I want to find out why I'm working. The answer can't just be to pay bills or to pile up more money. I can't find out sitting behind some desk in an office. So, as soon as I get enough money together, I'm going to knock off for a while. Come back and work when I know what I'm working for. Does that make sense? Cary Grant to Katharine Hepburn in the 1938 movie Holiday. Being an artist doesn't make you broke. Giving up your dreams makes you broke. Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the things you did. So throw off the bowlines. Sail away from the safe harbor. Catch the trade winds in your sails. Explore. Dream. Discover. Mark Twain. It's not what you get monetarily for your work, it's what you become by it. My friend, a retired guy told me if you make money, you sacrifice your time, but if you own your own time, you're usually financially poor unless you do something you love to do anyway that people will pay for. There's not one job in the workforce where you can live out the art of living freely. Some come close, like a rafting instructor, investigative journalist, documentary filmmaker, filming life as it happens as opposed to setting it up in a fictional movie which is tedious, or a motocross racer, while others leave you relatively free but get boring real fast, like a teacher, a dental lab tech, making dentures by hand, often at home, or an architect. Some are relatively interesting if that's your bag, like a recording engineer or software designer, but you're still on a routine, answering to a boss. Still others are deceptively tough, like most of the performing arts, which are extremely competitive, take endless rehearsals and direction from somebody else, usually the producer of the product, whatever it may be, and your job security is always at someone else's whim. Probably the best job around for someone like me would be something like caring for animals in an unstructured setting like a sanctuary, but I'm so hooked on my freedom, I don't even want to do that. My view of the work world is that nobody out there gives a damn about anyone else, it's all business. So my point is, don't go out there and try to reach some career highs for anything beyond money unless it's truly your passion. Don't waste your life on a career you don't really like just to reach some illusory milestone when everybody will forget about you 2 hours after you're gone. It's the big lie of the capitalist system. Tie your ego up into some dull job and play the game of ambition, competition, and status like all the other brainwashed clones, destroying your health, time, and well-being for some materialistic, capitalist illusion that you will never enjoy, because you're destroying your ability to enjoy life by losing your true self to your job/career. Despite all the pretense, most people hate their jobs and waste their lives working for a standard of living they don't really need, prisoners of materialism. If you don't like your work, find something you like that inspires you and makes you feel young. The world is abundant. There's enough need out there for practical things, frivolous novelty, and inspiration that I believe every free-thinking, intelligent person can come up with something original that they can earn their keep from whilst getting to do what they like. If you've got enough money to live a comfortable lifestyle modestly, your free time is way more valuable than wasting yourself on a dull job just for the money to live in a big house you don't need or drive a fancy car when a much cheaper one will do. So many people waste their lives keeping up appearances. Who do you think is enjoying life more, the Daniel Boone type living in a cabin somewhere, or the latest corporate big shot on the cover of Forbes magazine? The corporate big shot is working 10+ hours a day, destroying his body and soul in an artificial setting called a building, hanging around with people he doesn't particularly like, nor they him. Daniel Boone is taking life easy, doing what he wants out in nature. They're both living out the only thing they really own, time. Even if your business is your passion, you still have to sacrifice some of yourself by dealing with all the trivial crap that goes with the fun, inspirational, creative part of it. The business mindset is, I care about you and you care about me only if we can do something for each other. Everybody's stuck on themselves, in their own heads thinking about their own lives and only thinking about others if they can help them in some way. So vain efforts to make your mark and move up the career ladder through hard work beyond the money they pay you are useless, because the real battle of life is in your head, not what somebody else might say about you or your position at work. So many people destroy their lives because they want to make it to the illusory top to get position, status, fame, the big trophy, etc. But these things are all as temporary as the situation which creates them, because 2 hours later, all is forgotten as everybody goes back to living out their own fantasies in their own minds. Many men wear one of the most useless pieces of clothing around called a tie. It speaks volumes about your character that you choose to live with a noose around your neck, to give off the vibe that you're a good, little conformist clone. A tie has no practical function, only a symbolic function to mark you as a safe, dull, conformist member of the establishment. You only live once as far as anyone knows, you're only young once. I spent my youth riding freedom to the hilt, sometimes living in little dives, driving old cars, but I had a lot of fun and freedom. It was way worth it to me. There's more to life than a steady job and a standard family life, but you have to have the guts to do it, and very few people actually do. The underlying purpose, vision of aesthetic beauty. Life is a beautiful game. Leo in Hermann Hesse's Journey to the East. Where there is no vision, the people perish. I've come to believe that you know who you are quite early in life, because your true essence is a simple, basic thing you're born with, but the world immediately comes in with its agenda, all the way from TV to school to religion, so you lose your real self as you get brainwashed, somewhat like the message in Supertramp's Logical Song. When I was young, I felt that life was so wonderful, a miracle, so beautiful, all the birds in the trees, they were singing so joyfully, playfully watching me. Then they sent me away to teach me how to be logical, sensible, cynical, critical, intellectual. Looking back on it now, it was probably better that I went out into the world to see it all as the restless, curious spirit I am anyway, but it took me a while to figure it all out, come full circle and go right back to where I started, where I now have the sense to stay, because I know it's as good as it gets, me doing what I want freely, so I will stay there forevermore until the earth beckons me back into the dust from whence I came. The goal is to find your version of freedom and transcendence, do whatever it takes to reach that inspired, euphoric state, hold on to it for as long as possible. Then when you feel yourself slipping away and going down, get peaceful and calm for a while, and maybe walk over to the sensual, pleasurable side until the next round of inspiration hits. Transcendence is the magic of life. When you hit it via the fullest expression of your soul through the release of your natural inspiration, you know it, feel it, got it? You're on your game. When you come down from the high, nothing else matters much, you hit your groove, you're happy for the moment, so the game is to find what it takes to hit that transcendent groove and keep doing it forevermore. Everybody has within them, for at least one instant of time, a glimpse of themselves as they could be in their most perfect moment. This vision or feeling of yourself is your highest, purest soul, the archetype of your genetic seed. The pursuit of this archetype is you going along becoming better one day at a time, because it's your passion for life unleashed, your fountain of youth and the solution to all your woes. Deep down inside, you know it, and if you're honorable, there's nothing you can do but try to live it as the restless spirits we are as human beings, constantly forging ahead to the next frontier no matter what. It never ends, a work in progress all the time. This private paradise in our minds, a utopian place where all is beautiful, easygoing, and perfect, is your highest vision of aesthetic beauty. It's mostly a fantasy because real life is considerably less intense and beautiful. Most of us rarely get the money we want to live such free lives, nor do we find the perfect soulmate who loves us perfectly no matter what. Nevertheless, this is where I choose to live in my mind and in real life as much as possible, this luscious, tropical, perfect, peaceful, beautiful, surrealistic place, and I enjoy it as much as I can. My highest vision of aesthetic beauty is something like hanging out at the lake on a beautiful day with a beautiful young healthy girl, or maybe 5 or 20, going for a long swim, having a barbecue, drinking beer, doing other things to catch a buzz, playing with my dogs then making mad, passionate love right there in the woods kinda like Tarzan, Jane, and other primal beings in the Garden of Eden all to the background of the soundtrack of my life, my favorite music. This is my highest vision of aesthetic beauty, the real me, my happiest memories and the lifeblood of my soul. There's nothing in the world I'd rather do than this, live like a modern-day primitive out in nature with an Amazon, soft, delicate, beautiful Jane, or 2 or 10 or 100, so the game of life is to live it out in real life, in spirit and in fantasy form by letting it envelop my mind regardless of where I am or what I do. Everybody has at least one vision of aesthetic beauty in their souls. My vision was in me when I was born, but it came out through the particular culture I lived in, just like your vision was in you the day you were born but will manifest itself the way you were brought up. My archetypes are natural, noble savage type rough Ians like Adam from the Garden of Eden, Tarzan, Daniel Boone, Paul Gauguin, Papillon, the escape artist from French penal colonies who lived in the jungle with the natives. I feel like these natural roughnecks living in nature by their natures. Artists often paint their visions of utopia. Fiction writers often write about them. When you can be honest with yourself and probe past the cultural brainwash, you will find your visions of beauty to be this deep primordial thing in your soul. The first 15 years of your life will leave an imprint on you that will stay with you forever as the sentimentality of your culture during your formative years, so your soul will be manifested through those experiences. Something about our early years bonds with us, gives us a warm fuzzy feeling that we can never shake, and we keep trying to get back there just like Citizen Kane kept trying to get back to the brief security of Rosebud. Your highest vision of aesthetic beauty should be your life force and your inspiration. In order to be happy, you must try to live it in real life, in spirit by your actions, in the creative expression of it and in fantasy form in your mind. Keep that serious, unemotional face when you're out there in public as you're supposed to do, doing your job or just being around people in general, acting like you're a responsible, mainstream, conservative, dull citizen, but deep in your soul, hold on to that haven of hazy, surrealistic, easy, perfect beauty, because that's really where it's at. The enlightened free spirit tries to live like this all the time. It's not just an easy breezy cool moment reserved for a long weekend, it should be a regular, almost daily thing, your own insular Tahiti, the place of peace and beauty in your soul. It's kinda like the final scene in the movie of Mice and Men based on the novel, where Robert Blake tells his buddy to imagine the most beautiful, peaceful scene he can before he blows him away to avoid lynching by the approaching posse. You gotta live it in your mind regardless of where you are or what you do. Regardless of whether you're in jail or living a pretty comfortable life, stay close to your vision no matter what. Never let it get away. It's a permanent part of you that will always be there somewhere inside, regardless of how far you stray and how old you get. Life is just consciousness, whether you're 20, 40, 50, or 80 years old, 100 pounds, 200 pounds, 300 pounds, or 800 pounds, rich, middle class or homeless. Your soul never changes, but the world can cover it up so that it's barely flickering. So the goal of life is simple: hold onto to your vital, youthful soul till death do you part. Your good, old days and the best days of your life are right now. I know only too well how transient life is, that I will eventually age, and how I could easily slip away if I were to give in to the soppy pop culture entertainment, couch potato, drab forces of the world and lose my soul bit by bit. The transcendent zone is a deep connection to the soul where you make your highest vision of aesthetic beauty real, but it only lasts for a short time because you always have to take action to regenerate the happiness, otherwise you lose it. Everybody's idea of perfect beauty is peace, freedom, love, vitality, and going back home to the simplicity and innocence of youth. So that's where I live, in the haze of those lazy, crazy days of summer at the lake so long ago when I was young, innocent, and free. Life was simpler and I lived for the pure, easygoing enjoyment of time. This pursuit of soul as a lifestyle is something like the easy breezy cool groove you get into when you hear your favorite song, but this is just a temporary shot of easy breezy coolness. The real trick is to culture a soul that lives like this all the time by expending your natural inspiration physically and creatively, listening to good music, having great love, passionate sex, pursuing sensual pleasures, feeding your mind with new ideas and relaxing well via seeking out inspiration in your downtime like I do by watching whatever I can find on TV, the radio, or the internet that inspires me, all the way from true life stories about the spirit of man to new, interesting, mystical ideas and concepts. The bottom line is to stay pure and free enough to try to live this lifestyle without letting the world get to you. When I get old and my body withers, my soul won't change. I will still be stuck on the vision of my carefree days at the lake even when I'm ready to kick off. When you know your vision of beauty, it's over, that's it, all that matters for now and evermore, regardless of how distracted you get by life in the real world. As an old man, I will probably go for walks in the park but won't be as vital as I am now, and it will kill me inside that I will have lost myself, but that's the process of life, to lose your spark as you fade away during your twilight years, which is why aging is so tough. But that's just a side point to my main argument, although I'm trying to show you this flowing approach to life as a spiritual essence that lives in the soul. The intermediate purpose, inspired action from the soul. Can I dig a little deeper to pull out something I never knew I had before? Give it everything you get. Never give up on your dreams. Rick Hansen, wheelchair athlete who went around the world in his wheelchair. What you are is a gift of life. What you do with yourself is your gift to life. Life. Every morning a new beginning. Welcome and entertain them all. Be grateful for everything. Even sorrow, because at least you're alive. To live another day. Inspiration is my God, the extent to which I feel naturally motivated to use myself up all the time versus the alternative, which is generally loss of self, the opposite of inspiration, the absence of any real spark in life, either doing nothing much of anything or doing useless, trivial things, what I call illusions from the world system. Inspiration is like sex of the soul for me, because some of my soulful pursuits are intense physical activities which send me into short, brief zones of extreme euphoria where I soar on high for a while, and this fuels my well-being for the rest of the day, such that I'm generally more creative, relaxed and inspired than if I had just been sitting around not doing much. The purpose of life is to find your soul such that it becomes your base, which gives you the stability through which you can weather anything, be it good or bad, and from there, in order to stay strong, happy, and peaceful, you must seek to honor it on a regular basis by taking inspired action via what comes from it and reflect on it constantly to stay centered within yourself. Inspired action is fun with life, generally creative, physical and sensual activities that challenge, deplete, energize and replenish you all at the same time. It's simply living a great life, doing what you want in your free thoughts followed up with action. Freedom to me is to feel relaxed all the minutes of the day, doing exactly what I want, riding my life as I see fit. My only limits are my inspired potential and the need for enough money to cover my bills. Beyond that, I can do as I please, and that's the way I live every single day. Free spirits are little islands of freedom in a sea of conformity that simply want to be who they are and realize the archetype of the genetic seed that their creator endowed them with. Inspired action from the soul is the only true elixir to living a full life, and the trick is to channel this natural storehouse of inspiration to do something that will fill a need, help or inspire somebody, thus earning your keep in the process. Your life is the sum of all of your experiences up until now, which are all useless unless you can use them to stay inspired about your life. Life starts right now, every current second you're breathing air. The past is absolutely totally meaningless except for what you can suck out of it to help you stay inspired. The best you can ever do is keep moving with inspired action from the soul to keep that vision of endless summer as alive as you can, even when Father Time starts gunning for you, 'cause it's all you ever really got, either a feeling of inspired potential at any instant of time or a feeling of generic mundanity. There was some guy, he used to be a big-time hockey star about 10 years ago or so, who was coming to town to sign autographs and stuff. Some of my acquaintances were excited about going down to see him, maybe to touch the great one's cloak and something would rub off on them, or so they thought. I thought to myself, who cares? It doesn't matter what he did in the past. Who is he right now, today? He didn't look particularly inspired to me when I saw him, like he had a gleam in his eye or some kinda superior lust for life. He was sitting there promoting himself based on something from his distant past like a cheap carnival sideshow. How noble of him. And then he does some car commercials. I don't wanna see some has-been telling me to buy a car cause he's supposedly got some status that people buy into. Why didn't he just hang it up and go away quietly to do something else instead of being the stud trying to live off his past? Why does our society have to create these cheap pop culture heroes for us, and why do people have to fall for it? Live your own life. Don't buy into somebody else's crap about what being cool and happy is all about. It's your ride, you can live it any way you please. There's no law etched in stone that says you have to get a steady career then tie yourself down to a family and a mortgage. If these things truly give you joy, that's fine, but there's a huge realm of life to explore, and as a free spirit living in these modern times, we have the options to go forward in the directions we see fit, not in the direction we've been brainwashed to go, namely the dull career path version of the so-called American dream. In the end, you will be dead. The only thing that will have mattered is to look back on your deathbed and either know you've lived the life you imagined for yourself or were just another brainwashed clone who limped along in a limited life as a cog in the system. True freedom is to get beyond the life you've been conditioned by to live for yourself, your own purity, your own standards, to realize that life is truly a short ride of time, and the more you live in your own space influenced by nothing, the freer you will be. The ultimate purpose of life is to make it through unscathed with your youthful, innocent spark intact. The deeper purpose, a life of purpose. If you couldn't fail, what would you do? If you're alive, your mission on earth is not finished. To live decently, to have a reason for self-respect. Olga in Theodore Zeldin's An Intimate History of Humanity, 1994. The deeper purpose of life is to grow spiritually and help others do so. Make a statement with your life. I want to be totally used up when I die, because the harder I work doing what I love, the more I live. George Bernard Shaw. Dare to become who you are. Friedrich Nietzsche. You are here in order to enable the world to live more amply, with greater vision, with a finer spirit of hope and achievement. You are here to enrich the world, and you impoverish yourself if you forget the errand. Woodrow Wilson. Does my life have enough meaning to be worth living beyond just enjoying potato chips, watching TV, coloring my hair and buying stuff at the mall? That's the only real question. Everything else is either meaningless or minor distraction next to this. The purpose of life is a life of purpose. A life of purpose is to be who you really are, but the problem starts when you have to make a living, so you have to figure out a way to earn your keep by being who you are, and the way to do this is to share what's really important to you with the world somehow, thereby showing that you give a damn about being a positive force in some way. Do something that matters to you and use it to touch people and help them. I heard some old guy on TV define the purpose of life in 2 questions. It's not about what you acquired but what you contributed to others. What did you do? What are you doing now? How much of your potential did you use up? An enlightened person is an intermediary who opens up the world for others. Go where you are needed. Feeling that you can do something worthy and are needed by somebody in society should be the saving grace that keeps humanity from going completely over to the cynical, selfish side. I've lived the hedonistic ideal for a long time while going in positive motion with my life by expending my natural inspired energy, but I never felt fulfilled for real until I wrote this book, my love book, and a few others like the job book and my medical book, because I feel that I'm offering what's important in life to me to others who I know are as naive as I once was, so I can help them, because I've been there, done that, and done a lot of extra research in the process in my attempt to help people along the bumpy road of life. I've seen the good, the bad, and the illusion of frivolity in this polluted capitalist world, so I'm trying to light the path as to what's real in life. I've lived through the illusion of the superficial coolness standard of our MTV cultural mindset, trying to be trendy, in the in crowd, wearing logo merchandise, so I now know how useless it is and how many lives it destroys. especially when I see kids act punky cool as defined by the system, wearing $100 sunglasses, earrings, piercings and all that name brand stuff, pretending to like the latest trash on the hit list that I wouldn't call music because it's not intrinsically melodious. You have to find what's real in you and get it out somehow to pass it on in order to feel good about your life. That's what matters. Any clone can drive a Jag and wear Nike, Gap, Louis Vuitton, etc. It immediately gives you away, speaking volumes about your character. It doesn't make you look cool, it makes you look like an arrogant, brainwashed jerk full of yourself. If you really want to be cool, help somebody selflessly. In some primordial way, I want to continue the chain my father started when he created me, to create one little bit of unique worth for humanity to give me worth. It's about as good as it gets to fill the whole of the human soul. As loners by design, we can be quite happy alone in our heads, but sometimes getting out of your own skin to feel what others feel, sense their pain and help them is a great thing for you, to give you some inspired energy about your life, a sense that you're needed, that what you do will truly help people live better lives. I saw that movie about Charles Dickens about how he got the inspiration to write A Christmas Carol. While taking a walk through London worrying about his own problems, he saw some child factory workers being bullied by their boss, which made him go out of his own skin enough to help someone else and get his own sense of inspiration and purpose back in the process. You have to renew yourself all the time, otherwise you lose yourself. At any moment in time, you can measure your worth by asking yourself if you're producing something positive with your life. It doesn't matter what it is, the goal is to feel like you're in positive motion one way or another. Inspired action is the solution to all of life, like the line from Kipling's great poem, "Fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run," which tells us to keep moving no matter what. If you win, lose, have the greatest victory, the biggest defeat, or go to the biggest party, the next day it's just you, and your only choice is to mope or take inspired action via what comes from the soul. The past is a goodbye. Run away from all negativity as soon as it happens. Grab the inspired self and keep it close till death do you part. Regardless of what you come across in the world, your soul is ultimately your only sanctuary. People, things, God, or even money cannot give you control over the self, which comes from the knowledge and action of the soul. The only way you're gonna get through this life relatively unscathed is to just keep moving on with your inspiration no matter what happens, even if all your family and friends die, there's a great disaster, and anything else. Take a lesson from Viktor Frankl, who lived through a worse hell than you ever will in a Nazi concentration camp where just about all of his family was killed, which he wrote about in Man's Search for Meaning. Have your little cry, analyze it, purge it from your soul, then get back on it with your inspired life force.